Well, Carlos Mendoza, Gary, has been the hot managerial candidate this year. He interviewed very well in San Francisco. That job, of course, went to Bob Melvin, but he was a real contender there. He was a finalist in Cleveland, which is known as a model organization. So it's not just the Mets who he's impressed, and it's not just lately that he's been impressive. He's quietly built a very strong reputation within the game, sort of like Terry Collins' reputation, the way he came up as a player development guy, a coach, the old-fashioned way for a manager to develop. Aaron Boone, for example, came from the broadcast booth, and there's a lot of different now outside-the-box ways for a guy to come to managing. Well, Mendoza, or Mendy as his players and friends call him, and as you'll be hearing a lot around the Mets now, is a baseball lifer coming up to the minor leagues through and through. He interviewed very well with the Mets last week, talked to people who were in that room that were very impressed by him. Excuse the background noise. We're in the middle of the GM meetings here, of course. It just proceeded from Mendoza's interview. It proceeded toward what ultimately became the decision to hire him. Of course, the Mets were waiting to find out what Craig Counsell would do as well. Those were the two finalists. With Counsell going to the Cubs, the domino fell there, and Mendoza goes to the Mets.
Bryan, you've covered Mendoza across town with the Yankees. What are the Mets getting?
Yeah, I think that one of Mendoza's greatest strengths here is his ability to connect with players. You will not find a single person in that Yankee clubhouse with a negative thing to say about Mendoza. He's confident, he's prepared, he's bilingual, which is another feather in his cap there. And as Andy said there, he has done it all, seen it all, come up through the ranks. He managed in the low minors, came to the major leagues as an infield coach, was promoted to bench coach, and he has been invaluable to Aaron Boone as the lieutenant there on the bench. And you watch him in spring training, he makes the trains run on time. He runs a tight ship. And so I think what the Mets are getting there is the complete package. And you've talked to people around the league for years. They've said that Mendoza is going to be a major league manager, and now he's going to get his chance right across the RFK bridge.
Todd, what's your take on the hiring?
You know what, Gary, I think these guys know a lot more about Carlos Mendoza, quite honestly, than I do personally, and maybe as a lot of Mets fans might as well. So to me, it was a little surprising initially. What I can say is all of the things that these guys are saying about his reputation are certainly a factor in this because, look, there's a lot of pressure on David Stearns and this organization at the very top to make a hiring that they think is going to be a successful hiring. It's a critical coming off, a guy like Buck Showalter who had credentials around Major League Baseball for a number of different years. And so when you come into this offseason knowing that you're going to have to put somebody in a high profile position, he certainly must have interviewed well. And to me, it feels just like knee-jerk reaction, a little bit like Luis Rojas in the sense that kind of an unknown, very good baseball guy, very good with players, but without big league managerial experience. So I think you're going to see him really kind of have to rise to that occasion of being the captain of a ship in a very, very big market with a lot of, I think, anticipation and focus on this organization right now.
Todd, how do you think the dynamic changes going from an older manager in Buck Showalter to a younger manager, 43 years old, is Mendoza? How does that change the dynamic when it comes to dealing with players and inside that clubhouse?
Well, I think one of the things that is interesting about it is what Bryan was alluding to, that he's been in that Yankee organization and at Aaron Boone's right hand for a number of years now, and every player in that locker room has respect for him, knows that he's there to do his job, he runs a tight ship, and he has great communication. Obviously, when you take a guy that's been a part of an organization and a coach and then make him a manager, there's a different dynamic between the players and that guy as a coach. It's probably a good thing, in my opinion, much like Luis Rojas came from being a coach in the organization to a manager, so it's a different dynamic among guys that he already works with and knows. It's different, but it's the similar kind of thing. He's got a great relationship with players as a coach. It's a different dynamic as a manager. You have to be able to show authority. You have to make tough decisions. You can't be everybody's friend. And so I think from that position, he's going to have to step up into a more leadership role. And that was the one thing that you never had to worry about with Buck Showalter. He's got the credentials. He's got the respect of his players. If he has to make tough decisions, the veterans will listen to him, and the young guys certainly will listen to him. And that's the piece that I think a guy like Mendoza is going to have to do to kind of bridge that gap between being a friend of all the players and now being a guy that runs the ship.